Hello, shameless writers. I've decided that September should be Recommendations Month, so I'll be making a video every week with recommendations on how to improve your writing craft. Now, of course, the best way to improve your writing is to actually write, but there are several tools you can use to help you along the way. This week's video is about movies about writing. Whoever said television rots your brain was obviously speaking out of ignorance, because most of us, or maybe many of us, we'll hedge our bet there, get little flashes of inspiration from TV and movies. Yes, in these modern times of reality television and endless movie sequels and reboots, which are the devil, by the by, there is a lot of opportunity for terrible cinematic experiences. For instance, I recently watched Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which is the worst movie with the best actors in it that you could possibly imagine. Now, I have a lot to say about that particular movie, but not in this video. For that, you'll have to check out my blog, link in the description. There are truly great movies and television series. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. And for me, there's nothing more gratifying than to find a great film about writing, because it combines the best of both worlds. The worlds that consume my heart. Yes, I'm an introvert. And if it's not in a book or on a TV, chances are it's not super important to me or my creative process. For this video, and the list therein, I've confined it to movies that I've actually seen. Now, there are a lot of other movies about writing and writers, but if I haven't seen them, it doesn't seem right to include them. So, for the movies on the list, if you haven't yet seen any of these, please take this video as your invitation to do so immediately. The first film on my list is Stranger Than Fiction. This 2006 Will Ferrell gem follows the story of Harold, an unremarkable IRS investigator who lives a solitary, boring, and unfulfilled life. You can see why I related to this movie. That all changes when he starts hearing narration in a woman's voice. As it turns out, a famous author played by the wonderful Emma Thompson is writing a book, and Harold is the protagonist. These are both real people, and they've never met, yet she's writing a book about him, and he can hear her doing it in real time. If that seems like a strange premise, you know, like the title says it is, allow me to convince you how wonderful this movie is. In addition to showing a writer in an authentic sense, it also tells a wonderful story of the connection that exists between writers and the characters they create. We're not kidding when we say our characters talk to us. Next is Finding Forrester, which was released in 2000. I saw this for the first time while I was in college, which might explain how strongly I identified with it. It tells the story of Jamal, a young boy who, like many underprivileged black students, is smarter than is socially acceptable in his New York public school. He's lucky enough to be accepted on scholarship into a prestigious private school for his basketball skills. Apparently the school has less interest in his prodigious writing talent. But the real luck kicks in when he stumbles into the apartment of a famous reclusive author. And by stumbles into, I mean trespassed on a dare. Just say no to peer pressure, kids. But to his surprise, the old man is actually home instead of dead in there as he suspected. And Jamal drops his backpack as he flees in terror at being discovered in the man's apartment. However, he needs that backpack for school. He can't start at his new prestigious private school as one of the very few students of color without his backpack. So, humbled, the next day he goes back to the apartment to get his book bag. He's surprised when the old man gives it to him. And when he gets to school, he sees that all of his writing has been meticulously edited, with biting yet helpful notes in the margins. Seeing an opportunity, Jamal returns to the apartment once again, and a truly wonderful story of mentorship and perseverance unfolds. In 2005, Capote came out to critical acclaim. There have already been several film adaptations of Truman Capote's masterpiece In Cold Blood, but this film looks at the man himself, who he was, why he went to that little town in Kansas, and how writing the book changed who he was as a person and as a writer. As with many writers, he started out with a very firm idea of what he was going to write. But as he explored the players involved, that is, the people, the real people who were affected by this horrible crime, the story he told changed, and it began to consume his life. This is a little bit darker in theme than the other movies, but it shouldn't be missed. If you're a writer of memoirs or of creative nonfiction, this one in particular should be added to your list. Released in 1999, Sense and Sensibility receives an honorable mention here because it's not really a movie about writing, but rather it's a demonstration of how truly excellent writing can be transferred to the screen, even without a great deal of dialogue in the source material. Despite this seemingly difficult source material, Emma Thompson, the star of the film and one of its producers, converted the book magnificently into a screenplay that captured precisely Austen's world and voice. It really brought the words to life, and even the most die-hard Austen fans had no harsh words for the movie. The performances are pitch perfect, including that of the late Alan Rickman. If you're a younger person who only knew him as Professor Snape, stop what you're doing and go and watch his glorious portrayal of Colonel Brandon, the finest man in all of Christendom. No, that's not a quote from a book. That is my assessment of Colonel Brandon. For those authors who also write screenplays, the Sense and Sensibility screenplay and Emma Thompson's diary that she kept while on set is available on Amazon. It also has pride of place on my own bookshelf, but I don't think we know each other well enough for me to consider letting it out. Sorry. Those are my favorite movies about writers and writing. I'm pretty sure I'm showing my age with the selection. You'll notice none of those movies came out after 2005. So, you young whippersnappers who actually watch movies in the here and now, what favorites do you have? Let me know in the comments. If you're interested in watching any of these movies, old though they may be, I've included a link in the description for you to add them to your Prime watch list, or to sign up for Prime if you aren't yet a member. Another benefit to Prime membership is you get to watch the fantastic new series The Boys, which is now available and is the subject of September's blog post on my website, KristenMcTiernan.com, which is also linked in the description. Trust me, I have a lot to say about this show. So many feelings. In next week's video, I'll be talking about writers' groups, how they help you, and what you should look for. If you're interested in that, feel free to click that pretty subscribe button and the bell right next to it so you can be notified when it goes live. So until next week, take care and write well.